Picture that living room, the couch, the front door swinging open without a knock. Grace Kelly in her kitchen, ready to take on everything with a sharp tongue and a tired smile. If you're anything like me, that house felt real. It's been over 30 years now. These faces still feel close. Not all of them are where you'd expect. Grace Under Fire wasn't just a sitcom. It was a mirror held up to every family that kept going when things got hard. The people who brought it to life carried something rare, and their stories didn't end when the cameras stopped. I'd love to know who you first watched this show with. Maybe it was a parent. Maybe it was just you and a quiet room. Those memories are what this channel is built on, and I read every single one. And we'll start with someone who made that neighborhood feel safe from the very first episode. On the show, Nadine Swaboda was married to Wade. In real life, Julie White was building something no one in that studio audience could have predicted. Most viewers knew her as Grace's fast-talking best friend, the one who'd walk through the door mid-crisis and somehow make it funny. Nadine didn't fix things. She just made sure Grace knew she wasn't alone. For a lot of us, that's what a true friend looks like. Not someone with answers, someone who stays. White was 32 when she first appeared on Grace Under Fire. She stayed for 4 seasons before leaving in 1997. And then something remarkable happened. She went to Broadway. And she didn't just show up. She won. In 2007, Julie White took home the Tony Award for Best Actress in a Play for The Little Dog Laughed. She's been nominated 3 more times since. She also showed up in 3 Transformers films as Sam's mom, bringing her face to a whole new generation. Today, at 65, time has only deepened her elegance. She's still active on the regional theater circuit, still commanding every room she walks into. From a Missouri living room to a Tony Award stage, Nadine would have been proud. On the show, Nadine Swaboda was married to Wade. In real life, Julie White was building something no one in that studio audience could have predicted. Most viewers knew her as Grace's fast-talking best friend, the one who'd walk through the door mid-crisis and somehow make it funny. Nadine didn't fix things. She just made sure Grace knew she wasn't alone. For a lot of us, that's what a true friend looks like. Not someone with answers, someone who stays. White was 32 when she first appeared on Grace Under Fire. She stayed for 4 seasons before leaving in 1997. And then something remarkable happened. She went to Broadway. And she didn't just show up. She won. In 2007, Julie White took home the Tony Award for Best Actress in a Play for The Little Dog Laughed. She's been nominated 3 more times since. She also showed up in 3 Transformers films as Sam's mom, bringing her face to a whole new generation. Today, at 65, time has only deepened her elegance. She's still active on the regional theater circuit, still commanding every room she walks into. From a Missouri living room to a Tony Award stage, Nadine would have been proud. There's another face from the show who helped build it in ways you might not expect. If you grew up in the 80s, you heard "take off, eh?" more times than you can count. That was Dave Thomas, one half of the McKenzie brothers, on SCTV alongside Rick Moranis. He was already a comedy legend before he ever set foot in Victory, Missouri. On Grace Under Fire, Thomas played Russell Norton, the bachelor pharmacist who never quite figured out romance, but somehow always figured out how to be there. Russell wasn't the loudest voice in the room, he was the most dependable. For viewers who valued that kind of presence, he was someone you could always count on. Thomas was 44 when the show premiered. Today, at 77, he still carries the same spark we remember. He won an Emmy for his writing on SCTV and earned several more nominations over the years. But here's what most fans don't realize. Thomas wasn't just acting on Grace Under Fire. He was the head writer. The man behind the pharmacy counter was also the man shaping the words Grace said every week. Since the show, he's built Animax Entertainment, an animation studio creating content for Disney and ESPN. He's continued making appearances celebrating the roots of Canadian comedy. Still creating, still building. The pharmacist who quietly wrote the whole prescription. Every sitcom family needs the kid who makes the hard days lighter. On Grace Under Fire, that was Libby Kelly. Curly hair, quick mouth, and enough sass to keep up with Brett Butler herself. Caitlin Cullum was 7 when she took on the role. She held it for all 5 seasons and won multiple Young Artist Awards along the way. After the show, she appeared in Galaxy Quest and a few guest spots on Malcolm in the Middle. Then, around 2013, she stepped away. No announcement, no farewell tour. She moved behind the camera into production design. Today, at 39, she wears every year beautifully. Sometimes the bravest thing a child star can do is simply grow up on their own terms. If any of these faces are bringing something back for you, I'm glad. We're only halfway through, and there's still more ahead. If this feels like the kind of place you want to come back to, I'd love to hear that. Your words keep these stories going. Some careers last a season. Peggy Ray's lasted half a century. Before Grace Under Fire, she'd already been a nurse on I Love Lucy, a regular on The Waltons, and Lulu Hogg on The Dukes of Hazzard. 3 different decades, 3 different Americas, and somehow she fit right into all of them. On Grace Under Fire, Rhea played Jean Kelly, Grace's mother-in-law, the kind of woman who'd drive you up the wall and still show up first when you needed help. Jean was complicated. She loved her difficult son, but couldn't deny that Grace was holding the family together. For viewers who knew that kind of family, she felt familiar. Not easy to love, impossible to forget. Rhea was in her early 70s when she joined the cast. She appeared in dozens of episodes. She left us in 2011 at 89. But here's something most fans never knew. Before she was an actress, Peggy Ray worked as secretary to Arthur Freed at MGM, the legendary producer behind classic musicals like Singin' in the Rain and An American in Paris. She got her start in the business right inside the studio that made movie history. From the golden age of musicals to a Missouri kitchen table. That kind of warmth doesn't fade. 5 decades in front of a camera, and every single one mattered. But we're not done yet. Some of the most surprising turns are still ahead. Imagine being 15 and walking onto a set where someone else's name is still fresh in everyone's memory. That was Sam Horrigan, in 1996, stepping in to replace John Paul Stoyer as Quentin Kelly. He brought a new energy, a slightly older Quentin with more edge. For viewers attached to the original, it wasn't easy. But Horrigan earned his place. He reminded us that families change shape, and kids outgrow the version of themselves you knew. Horrigan was 15 when he joined. Today, at 44, he radiates the same warmth decades later. After the show, he turned up in Brink and guest spots on Desperate Housewives and Modern Family. Off-screen, he's run more than 100 5K races and works as a stunt performer. He's chosen a simpler path now. No agent, no management, just faith, charity, and a life he built for himself. But before he ever played Quentin, he'd already shared a screen with the boy he replaced. In a little movie called Little Giants, that thread isn't finished yet. Most people never learn the name of the actor who made them laugh the hardest at work. Walter Olkewitz was that actor. On Grace Under Fire, he played Dougie Budrow, the guy at the oil refinery who could crack a joke in the middle of chaos and make you forget the shift wasn't over yet. Dougie wasn't the lead. He was the reason the lead had someone to lean on when the cameras pulled in tight. That was Olkewitz's gift. He never needed the spotlight. He just made every scene better the moment he walked in. Across 4 decades, he did exactly that. Taxi, Cheers, Newhart, Seinfeld. He was the face you recognized but couldn't always place, the kind of character actor television runs on. Olkewitz was 45 when Grace Under Fire began. He appeared in dozens of episodes before the show moved on from the refinery. He left us in 2021 at 72. His final years were marked by health struggles following a series of knee surgeries. But even then, he found his way back to the screen. In 2017, he returned to Twin Peaks for its long-awaited revival. He performed every scene seated behind a bar because he could no longer stand. The director kept the camera where it needed to be, and Olkewitz delivered. His son, Zach Olkewitz, went on to write the screenplay for Bullet Train, the Brad Pitt action film. The craft didn't leave the family, it just changed hands. Who looks at a baby on a sitcom set and thinks, those two are going to be the most famous people in this building someday? Nobody. But that's what happened. Dylan and Cole Sprouse were less than a year old when they were cast as Patrick Kelly. It was their very first role. They'd started acting at 8 months with a diaper commercial. By the time the show ended, they were 5, and they were just getting started. For viewers, Baby Patrick was something simple and necessary. In a show about hard choices and messy lives, he was the reason Grace kept going. Pure innocence in a house full of struggle. The kind of hope you hold on to when everything else falls apart. What came next is a story most of you already know. Big Daddy with Adam Sandler, The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, 2 of the highest-paid child actors on television. Then at the peak, they stopped. Both enrolled at NYU. Dylan studied video game design. Cole studied archaeology. Not acting, not fame. Something entirely their own. Today, at 33, both are more striking now than ever. Cole spent 7 seasons as Jughead Jones on Riverdale and appeared in Lisa Frankenstein. Dylan moved into action films like Under Fire and runs All Wise Meadery, a craft brewery in Brooklyn. He married supermodel Barbara Palvin in 2023. 2 babies on a Missouri soundstage. Now 2 men building lives no script could have written. If you watch them grow up, you already know how that feels. But before we reach the heart of this story, there's a name that needs its own moment. And it's one you haven't forgotten. You can still hear it if you listen closely. A 9-year-old boy with more nerve than anyone twice his age, talking back to his mother in a Missouri kitchen. That was John Paul Stoyer as Quentin Kelly. And for 3 seasons, he was the kid who made this show feel lived in. Quentin wasn't just the rebellious son. He was the boy who reminded viewers what it feels like to be young and overwhelmed. Acting out because the world felt too big. For anyone who grew up in a chaotic house, Quentin made them feel seen. Stoyer was 9 when he took the role. Before this, he'd played a young Klingon on Star Trek: The Next Generation. He starred alongside Sam Horrigan in Little Giants. He was a natural. But at 12, he walked away. The environment had changed, and he made the choice to step back. What came next was entirely his own. He moved to Portland, took the stage name Johnny P. Jules, and became lead singer of a glam punk band that later renamed itself Soda Pop Kids. After that band ran its course, he joined a punk group called Problems, which toured Europe. In 2015, he opened Harvest at the Bindery, a vegan restaurant that became a local favorite. He'd built a life far from Hollywood, a real one. He left us on New Year's Day 2018. He was 33. The restaurant closed not long after. But in reruns playing somewhere right now, a 9-year-old boy is still talking back to his mother in that kitchen. And she's still trying not to laugh. And then there was Grace. Not just the character, the woman behind her. Brett Butler didn't audition for Grace Kelly. She already was Grace Kelly, a Southern woman who'd lived through the roughest version of her own story. And she decided to turn it into something that might help someone else laugh through theirs. She started in stand-up, got noticed on The Tonight Show in 1987. Dolly Parton saw her on a variety special and offered her a writing job on the spot. A few years later, ABC gave her a show built around her voice, her history, her fire. Grace Under Fire became the highest-rated new comedy of the 1993 season. Butler earned 2 Golden Globe nominations and a People's Choice Award. She was making $250,000 an episode. For a girl from Montgomery, Alabama, it was everything. And then life did what life does. Challenges came, the kind that don't care how bright the spotlight is. The show ended in 1998, and the years that followed weren't kind. She moved to a farm in Georgia. She lived with her animals. She stepped out of sight. But she never disappeared completely. She came back. 38 episodes of anger management, a role on The Walking Dead, a guest spot on Fantasy Island in 2023. Each time, smaller stages, but the same voice, the same timing, the same unmistakable Southern fire that made a studio audience fall silent just to hear what she'd say next. Butler was 35 when she first played Grace. Today, at 68, she carries her story in every line. She's talked openly about the tough years, about starting over, about learning that pride is heavier than asking for help. She's hopeful about returning to stand-up comedy, the place where it all began. Grace Kelly was the mother who refused to break. She showed millions of viewers that you could fall apart and still hold your kids close, that you could lose everything and still find something worth laughing about. Brett Butler gave us that, and she's still here, still standing. The title was never just a name. It was always her story. But we can't close this story without pausing for someone who left too soon. John Paul Stoyer gave this show its heartbeat in those early seasons. He wasn't performing childhood. He was living it, right there on camera, and we felt every moment. That kind of truth doesn't come from training. It comes from being exactly who you are. He passed away in early 2018 at just 33. But what he left behind still plays. Every time someone starts those first 3 seasons, he's there. A boy in a kitchen, brave enough to speak his mind, tender enough to make us listen. Every rerun is a small hello. Some shows come and go. Grace Under Fire stayed. Not because it was perfect, because it was honest. It gave us a woman who fought for her family with everything she had. And we never stopped rooting for her. Aretha's voice is still somewhere in that opening. The kitchen door is still swinging open, and Grace is still standing at the counter, coffee in hand, ready for whatever comes next. So let me ask you this. When you think of Grace Under Fire, who were you back then? Who was sitting beside you? I'd love to read that memory whenever you're ready to share it. There are more stories like this one waiting. More faces. More living rooms we used to know. Until next time, Take good care of that memory. It matters.